We're going to talk about how they can access 3D data, spatial computing, and then also the rise of consumer EEG, electroencephalogram is what EEG stands for. And they are your brainwaves, and they have the ability to control augmented and virtual reality. And the form factor of EEG is getting very small. It's being baked into headphones. So it's a very unique biometric input that we're excited to use with my company called Healium, and Healium is spelled Healium, like healing. We're allowing people to control virtual worlds and heal virtual worlds with their bioinformatics. So we started trying to find a solution for a group of terminally ill and aging World War II veterans who weren't able to physically travel to see their memorials in Washington, D.C. But through virtual reality, we could allow them to feel like they were at the memorials, even though they weren't there. And in thousands of tours, we noticed something that was, we thought, very fascinating. And that was the fact that VR and AR appeared to be allowing the user to do things they would normally be able to do. This particular gentleman, his daughter told us that he wasn't able to lift his arms above his head. Halfway through the experience, he has his arms above his head, trying to reach out for some of the other people that he sees inside the screen. And so it led us to study VR and AR, and I'll talk about some of those research articles just in a moment. But we noticed that it was almost as if VR and AR, we were using augmented reality back in the days of Google Glass, but it appeared to downshift their nervous system. They weren't just watching the media, they were feel it. And I'm sure all of you have seen this reaction from people, when they put on the headset and it tricks their brain into thinking they're somewhere else. They take a deep cleansing breath, they relax, their body softens. And the stress appeared to melt away. And the thing that we noticed that people didn't have the ability to see that stress melting away. And how can you control your stress if you don't have the ability to see it or interact with it? And that's what our company's mission is doing, is allowing people to see those feelings and to discover their power. So I mentioned the rise of consumer EEG right alongside the rise of XR. So some of you all might be already familiar with these companies that are creating brain-computer interfaces, otherwise known as BCI. They are a Neurable, a Neurosity is a new one out on the market, Lucid Labs, Emotive, the Brain Link Light. And some of them are incorporating EEG inside the face masks of these headsets. And some of them, channels like myself, VR, AR content companies like myself are creating that content with those unique biometric inputs. And all of that data provides very fascinating experiences for us as content creators. And our technology is what powers AR and VR with different biometric inputs. So your brain waves, much like a 10-speed bicycle, have different speeds: gamma, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. There are fast brainwaves, there are slow brainwaves, and what we're doing with Healium is allowing you to control these augmented reality or virtual reality assets with different feeling states. And we're allowing that wearable data to come to life. No longer is it flat and sequestered on your watch or in a flat data dashboard. You have the opportunity to see it, to interact with it, to develop a relationship so you can better able to know how to control that stress. So on the right-hand side, you see an example of what Healium looks like. We're streaming those bioinformatics from an Apple Watch or a BrainLink Light headband. You see it on the left-hand side. It's just a strap that's worn on your headband, on a headband. Fits underneath the virtual reality goggles. So in augmented reality with your Apple Watch or with the BCI headband, or in virtual reality just with the BCI headband, you can see your feelings, and you can also know that they have power, either using straight beat speeds per minute or EEG. And this is kind of what it feels like when you're using Healium.
Oh my goodness, you guys have got to experience this. This is so fabulous.
So what she's watching is inside a cave, and she is watching the light move towards her according to different feeling states. So we had a chronic pain patient of ours who uses helium and was talking about how his wounds are where the light enters him. And if he's wearing a wearable and he's calming his mind, for instance, then that light is moving from him out into the world. Again, it is setting power to your feelings and allowing you to see historically what has been unseen in the body in a quantified way. And not only that, but there's a story with it. Not only these beautiful picturesque landscapes, there's a story that goes with the data. Now let's talk about the science. We know there are more than 900 published studies on the therapeutic use cases of virtual and augmented reality. And helium has 3 of those published studies. So these are clinically validated: a Journal of Neuroregulation, Frontiers in Psychology, the Scholarly Journal of Psychology and Behavioral Science, all found in our instances that uh, helium reduced anxiety and increased feelings of positivity, increased an area, a brain pattern called gamma asymmetry quickly in as little as 4 minutes. So on the left, you see the high beta or the fast activity in the brain. And immediately after, 4 minutes after, you see what it looks like a user's brain immediately after viewing that virtual reality experience. So again, very powerful tools in order to downshift the nervous system and remind the user that they have power. We also know that virtual reality changes mood. This is a study that we published in the Scholarly Journal of Psychology and Behavioral Science, and it was using helium before blood donations. So before they get the stick on their arm, the user is in a virtual reality experience, and this is the mood score, mood inventory. You can see it significantly reduced tension using virtual reality, reduced fatigue, and increased feelings of happiness and calmness significantly, and primarily among the youngest age groups, which we thought was fascinating, that the ones who had the most significant shifts were in the ones ranging in age from 15 to 19. This is what it looks like inside a biometrically controlled augmented reality experience. You're able to select, I'm using an Apple Watch, I'm using a BrainLink Lite EEG headband, and then you have the ability to toggle those experiences easy, medium, and hard, because everybody's brain patterns and heart rate are different. This is not something that is a replacement for psychotropic medication. It's not a replacement for cognitive behavioral therapy or any kind of professional counseling. It's a self-awareness tool. And again, a reminder that you are in control of your own situation. Even though we've been sequestered for months and months, we can still hatch butterflies with our brain or illuminate the planets. So these experiences for mindfulness meditation that are biometrically powered, and if you're not using a wearable, you don't have to use a wearable. The experience automatically plays, and users then use their own imagination. They think, I'm thinking a happy thought, or I'm thinking a calm thought, and then I'm going to make these butterflies hatch. I'm going to float up the side of a waterfall, or what have you. But helium is being used all over the world, not only with the military before blood donations, with schools to help their students develop a mind-body connection, with teachers who need some virtual peace. Helium is also being used on the front lines of COVID-19, where mental health workers are using virtual reality to downshift their nervous systems, as well as people who are traditional meditators and who aren't traditional meditators. So I talked about how virtual reality is being used with disaster response. So we recently used it in the aftermath of the tornado in Nashville that killed 20 individuals. We used it in Missouri with the Eldon tornado, Hurricane Harvey, and then most recently with the public health emergencies. Again, completely drugless solution that downshifts the nervous system in as little as 4 minutes and takes the user somewhere else, so they're not as focused on what that reality is. We are adding to our team, so if there are any individuals watching, who would like to play with us as it relates to AR and VR. We're hiring for a virtual and augmented reality developer. If you know Unity, we definitely want to have a conversation with you, and would love to tell you a little bit more about what we're building. But these are the people. We are AR, VR designers, developers, cinematographers, stereoscopic video editors, and VFX artists and gamers as well. And I'll close before I answer any additional questions by saying that your thoughts have power, not only in the virtual world, but the real world as well. And if you have any additional questions about our science, about some of the stories on our platforms, or anything else, we would love to connect with you. We are big about growing this community, and really excited that we had the opportunity to share this experience that you see on the screen. The bioinformatics are displayed on a magic wand. And if the user lowers their heart rate, or they have a particular brain pattern that goes a certain way, if you're meeting the threshold, you have the ability to cast a spirit animal into the environment, much like Harry Potter's cast of Patronus. You then see that feeling state personified as a fox, or a bird or something like that. Again, your thoughts have power. My email is Sarah with an H, SARAH, at story-up, that's the name of our studio, or Sarah at tryhelium.com. Would love an opportunity to connect with you and speak a little bit more. And there you see more of our ways to contact us. You can also follow us on Twitter at HeliumXR. And again, a reminder, helium, not like the balloon gas, helium as in healing, in that we're enabling people to use virtual and augmented reality to discover their own healing powers that have been inside themselves the whole time. And with that, I will stop sharing, and I will ask some questions and go to some of the questions that I can get up on my screen over here. Okay. Some of you all, and it looks like I think I'm have another one, a few more minutes, so I can just talk for a few more minutes. Kunal is asking about a presentation. Yes, I would love to be a part of your presentation. One of the things we have in the Midwest, in Columbia, Missouri, we call them nerdy playdates. As you all know, in the Midwest, sometimes we don't have the opportunity to always, be on the coasts. And so we learn from each other, and we bring people in, different technologists from a variety of different areas, not only in virtual and augmented reality, but we've had people on our nerdy playdates, people who are drone pilots, people in AI, people who are building fascinating things with video and machine learning. And definitely, if you live near our area, or if you don't, we'd love to have a conversation with you and learn about what you're building, and see if there might be some ways that we can use it with Helium. Helium experiences are made with a combination of not only virtual and augmented reality designers and developers. I mentioned storytellers. Story is big. At Helium, stories how to learn, retain that information better. And again, it's not just a ring that pops up on your data dashboard. It's a story that you get about your healing powers that have been inside yourself all the time. Also a neurofeedback specialist. So my co-founder, Dr. Tarrant, writes all of the brainwave algorithms that we use in order to power Helium. And Helium essentially is that technology that lives between the hardware and the content that allows you to power a particular feeling state with your feelings of positivity or your feelings of calm, or by having more focus. It's kind of like an emotive transmission, if you will, that allows you to bring these experiences to light in a new and different way. So with that, I will close and say thank you to Dan and Ken and Mitchell and Chris and Alan and all of you guys for being at the conference today and letting us share a little bit more about virtual and augmented reality that's controlled by data from consumer wearables. Thank you.
Yeah, so Sarah, if you would like, you actually have about 12 more minutes of time, and then
All
and,
right.
and then we do on Zoom. Are you able to see the Q&A where the questions are? Because we do have some people.
I see I'm on the general. Oh, questions. Aha, I was on um, the wrong tab. I'm not seeing them in there. So if you want to read them out to me, Matthew,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Let's start at the top. Um, Someone asks, has this been used with people with ADHD?
Yeah, so we do not have any data or research on using helium for people who have ADHD. However, there are some parents who are using it on an experimental basis to teach their son or daughter about the mind-body connection. And so that's something that we're looking at. Helium is involved in about a dozen different clinical trials around the world for a variety of different conditions, from labor pain to post-traumatic stress to chronic back pain, um, uh, uh, traumatic brain injury. And so, that's the thing about anxiety. Anxiety is a layer in 60% of all illness and disease. So, you could, if you have the ability to allow the user to self-manage their anxiety, that's a powerful tool in a variety of different, conditions, from weight loss to someone with a heart condition. And, granted, I hope you heard me say that helium is not a replacement for any kind of medication. It's not a cure or a treatment. It's a self-awareness tool that just happens to be clinically validated to again, downshift that nervous system.
Yeah, the next question let me get here comes from Anna, and she asks, uh, what was the biggest challenge of working with the Apple Watch?
So the biggest challenge of working with any wearable, not just Apple Watch, is that these wearables weren't natively designed to do what we're using them for, which is the whole reason why we had to build a layer of technology between the wearable and the game engine to tell them how you power each other. So um, uh, all of these wearables, at some point we had to figure out some unique ways with Bluetooth and connection issues in order to power them. And also, too, they keep changing. So, one wearable will come out, and then next thing you know, that particular wearable has been upgraded and their SDK no longer works anymore. And so, you had to pivot to, a different one. So all of this is a learning experience, and in building, immersive AR and VR dashboards, if you will, uh, that we have to be patient with the fact that the wearables weren't natively designed to be powering spatial computing environments. And the hope is that all of these headsets will eventually have their own sensors in them. And we know that that's coming. There's some great companies. Lucid Labs is one of them that's baking in EEG sensors inside their hardware. Um, uh, I mentioned Neurosity. They're doing fascinating things, and their Neurosity BCI headset does in fact fit underneath an Oculus Go. So, we're just excited and wish that maybe more of the headset makers would not have to have it be an add-on, but much like you would use headphones, that you could purchase an add-on for your virtual reality headset to be able to power it with sensors from the face mask.
Okay. Tim says, "Hi Sarah, I've been following your work for a long time. It is very cool. I would love to know more about the AI you are using, as in how are you collecting the data to train it?"
Yeah. So that requires a very extended conversation. So right now we are not capturing any of the data. And I know that might sound shocking to you all, but there's a little thing called GDPR and HIPAA as well. And June 1st, we will have a fully compliant GDPR, HIPAA compliant back end data dashboard that will allow us to capture that data and allow the user to track their progress over time. There is a company that all of you all should know about. It's a nonprofit called XRSI. XRSI. And they are very an incredible resource for companies, young companies, to ensure that their products are safe from a cybersecurity perspective, and also using the data from the users in a responsible way. So I don't know if you all know Kavya Perlman. If you don't, that's Kavya, Kavya. Perlman. Definitely connect with her on Twitter, XRSI. They're also in Twitter as well. They are, doing community work to educate companies. Hey, data is something that needs to be protected, obviously. And so we've been working with them in order to, ensure the data that we get from Helium is used in a proper way. But for right now, we're not capturing any of it. It's all being dumped within the app. And ultimately, in June 1st, we'll have a way for the user to track it over time. They'll be able to track different brain patterns and heart rate, and actually, see it on another way besides just inside the experience.
Yeah, this next one comes from Ken, who says, have you thought about doing prolonged events, making it episodic, almost so their feelings actually develop over time?
Okay, can you say that one more time? You cut
Yeah,
out.
okay. Have you thought about doing prolonged events, making it episodic, almost so their feelings actually develop over time?
Yeah, so right now the longest experience on the platform is about 20 minutes, and there's only one of them that's about 20 minutes. There are 20 experiences on the platform. Every 60 days, we update Helium with a new piece of content. So, the next one that we're working on is a dream pool, where the user is able to transform this dream pool with their feelings. The next one is a geyser, and they're able to let off steam, literally and figuratively, by quieting their mind or increasing their focus, and then the geyser comes to life. Episodic is not where we are yet. At some point, it would be fascinating to play in that space, and I would love to hear your ideas, what you're thinking about that. But for right now, they are separate experiences in AR, in an AR app, and separate experiences in a VR app. One of the things that we are working on and will release in the next 2 weeks is an AR portal experience that combines both AR and VR into one space just on your mobile device using AR portals. So for instance, and I can pull up a screen grab of this and talk about how we're using it. So can you see my screen? You can't see my screen. Can I share it? Is that all right?
Yeah.
So this is the experience, and essentially you have a portal that comes to life inside a living room. And this is just the beta for it, so we still have a lot of work, but you see all of the rocks come to life inside a portal. And then eventually
walk through the portal to experience these healing worlds.
This is in your living room, and then you walk in through the portal just with your mobile device, not in a VR headset. And so you see you're in the real world right there, but then you have the ability to go into the portal, which is a virtual reality environment. So you're in a peaceful forest, you can float through a brain, float through a waterfall, be in space, magic cave, dream pool, a beach, and a snow globe. And wherever you
Now
click,
teleporting to New Zealand.
it takes you teleporting to a new place. And again, these are portals outside of a virtual reality headset. And that's how we're trying to solve for the fact that not everyone has a headset. So we recognize not everyone has a headset, but they still have the ability
Relaxed, comfortable position.
to, experience those things by walking through an imaginary portal.
Yeah, we have one more question here, and I want to make sure that it gets answered because it comes from Rex, who's one of our leadership members with the Alternate Reality Initiative.
Great.
So he says, "Thanks for the great presentation. It was really interesting. Other than helping people visualize their emotions to heal them, can Helium allow people to control the virtual world using cognitive decisions?"
Yeah, I'd like to know what you mean by cognitive decisions. So, right now, we are not measuring intent. But there are companies that have hardware devices out there that are measuring intent, and one of them is Neurosity. Would definitely encourage you to check out the good things that they're doing over there. So Helium does not measure anything. Helium is the content, and it's also the transmission that's powering AR and VR. But in the future, if there are hardware devices out there that have existing SDKs that allow you to measure an intent, who knows? We might absolutely be able to, we will be able to tell stories with that. Right now, we're just limited about what the hardware allows us to do. And right now, as far as brain patterns, those limitations are alpha, beta, theta, gamma, and gamma asymmetry as well. The more your frontal gamma leans to the left or the right, that can tell us about certain emotional states. But yes, the fact that the form factor of brain-computer interfaces are getting smaller, and the fact that it's becoming more accessible and more people have it, to us as content creators is really a fascinating space to be in.
Okay, I think those are all the questions that people had. So thank you so much for
Thank you very
joining.
much. Yeah, thank you.